Welcome to the As If That Happened podcast, where we found a fun excuse to have a chat about all our favorite movies, TV shows, and entertainment. Today's episode is season 2 of My Next Life as a Villainess, part 2, where we're talking about episodes 5 to 8. We left off after Katarina was found from being kidnapped, and that was all resolved, and they found out who did it and saved her and got her back. But the big cliffhanger from last episode was the kiss from Jordo and Katarina.
Oh, that was back. Classic.
And
that made everyone scream.
I mean, it did for me too. But I think we were talking about what that meant for them, and you said she would finally understand that he likes her, and I said no, I don't think so. And I think I was kind of half right because
there was a build up at least. There's no way that she cannot have a build up from it.
The first thing she thought was, oh, it was all a dream.
I mean, that's normal. I remember my couple of first kisses. I'm like, that was a dream. I'm pretty sure that was a dream.
But it was him just completely kind of declaring that I do like you, or I guess he's declared I've loved you. And she just was like, well, that didn't happen. That couldn't have happened. But episode 5 mostly focused on the brothers after that. And just from the top, I have to make a disclaimer, because last episode I said that the Jeffrey was, conniving to get on the top of the throne or something, and I didn't understand because he's like the eldest anyway. But it turns out, or if I misinterpreted it, or they've just revealed it, that the person who actually kidnapped Katarina was just somebody who wanted to see him on the throne, not from him himself. Because he actually is obsessed with his brothers in the cutest way. Okay, I don't know if it's half, well, I guess because they're family, it's okay. It's like a family portrait. But he has gigantic portraits.
I found that brothers, so...
a whole wall.
I don't know. I kind of find that weird, but I think that's because of my relationship with my siblings. I wouldn't have a whole entire
well, we don't have pictures together, so this may be why this is.
Probably.
But the only pictures I have in my room are of my siblings.
Because I don't even have that.
I'm just not a big... Okay. So that is why it's weird to you. You can already see my background. This one is my siblings. That's my brother there. Well, that one's my parents. But you know what I mean? I don't think it was that weird. I think the extent of it, where it looked almost like a shrine. But then I just kind of imagine it to be like a photo wall. But the fact it was behind a curtain, I guess, was kind of the reveal of it was like, were you hiding this?
Yeah, and also I think it was also the fact is that I'm like, how did you get all these pictures? Did you ask your maids or servants to take a picture whenever you see a cute moment?
Well, they just kind of look like family candid portraits.
I don't know. They look like random segments of different scenes or purposely taken. I don't know. Who knows where or how these photos came up, but I do agree it was very adorable. I do think that this episode really enhanced how much you really cared about each sibling, and we kind of got an in-depth character of Jeffrey and also Alan. Oh, not Alan, Ian. Sorry. We got an in-depth character of Jeffrey and also Ian and their perspective on Jordo and also Alan, but we also got that flip coin of how Alan and Jordo do respect their oldest brother Jeffrey for all those times that he's looked after them or kept an eye on them all without them even knowing, which I just found this episode absolutely wholesome.
Yeah, me too.
In a nutshell.
I do want to go a little bit serious for a second, as I do. Um, what I did really like about this episode is we saw it from. So we found out that Alan was always sick as a child. Can I just say, the moment they said that, I was like, dude was climbing trees with Katarina as a child. Like, and this guy
And he
was
was
like
sick
always
whilst he was
sick.
growing
It's like,
up.
no way he was gonna win. Of course, everyone was saying, don't climb trees, play the piano, because he was always like bedridden.
Oh
But
God.
we've talked about this before, but I do appreciate when they talk about, or they show the side of both the sick child in Alan and the other child in Jordo, because he felt neglected by
Mm,
his mother. And, to his mates, he's just like, aren't you going to pat my head like the other mother I saw on the outside?
mhm,
And
mhm.
like, that's all he wanted. Wasn't even, you know, treats or like items or anything. It's like, I just
Yeah.
want a pat on the head. And that was kind of like, this
It's like the
person,
little mundane things in life
yeah.
that you would always want from like your parents to be like appreciated after doing like an excellent job or like finishing your task
Yeah.
and everything else. But
And
he had to
that,
wait for his mom.
and it's not to take away, obviously, from the perspective of Alan, who was always sick, because obviously they don't want to be sick, and that's not something that I'm ever going to diminish the impact of that. But I'm just
Mm,
saying, don't you hate like just illnesses in general or hardships, mental and physical both? Like, it affects so many people in ways that we can never really always get everyone's perspective on. And seeing Jordo have to rely on himself, and he pushed people away, even though his brother Jeffrey was like, hey, what's your favorite things to do, like, I want to hang out with you. He's like, nah, I you know nobody cares about me. That's what he got out of it in life. And I
yeah.
think it was really cool that even though that was happening, Jeffrey could have been like, okay, fine, I won't talk to you again. But he realizes, I'm the big brother, and this is what happens when someone is neglected. I'm going to keep trying. And he kept trying and trying to kind of get those two to bond until they started talking and becoming friends. And I thought that was really special. And it sucked when, like, even Alan was on his bed, like, he was crying because he was like, it's our birthday tomorrow. And now he knew the implications of that. He couldn't go see his brother. His mother would now have to stay with him to look after him. And Jordo was going to have to spend his birthday alone. It was just like a sad situation all around.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like they always have this way of putting different perspectives into kind of reality checks.
Mm-hmm.
And also because Alan, again, like really empathizing with Alan and his upbringing, and because he was always stuck in bed, he wasn't able to like hang out with his like twin brother Jodo, and Jodo like turned his colorful world into like just simple gray where everything is just like one color. There's no feelings or emotions shouldn't be shared and everything. And Alan, when he was perfectly normal, and unfortunately as it was, his mother died, when his health was like back to normal and whatnot, we started to see people were comparing him with his brother and saying how unfortunate it was, um, for him as a child to be so sick that he missed out on all these great opportunities that could have really helped him in the long time. And I think that's what really started that rivalry and all that jazz, that even Jeffrey knew that it was a bit late for him to jump in and actually help both of his twin brothers to get along. And let alone is that when it finally worked out towards the end, thanks to Katarina's help, um, he straight away went to Ian, and Ian's like, what happened? What do you want? And even Ian himself can't even figure out what is going on with Jeffrey and how he acts and why he does certain things and all that jazz. And it's to a point where Ian even in this episode was just like, he does everything on his free will, but he means well and he just respects every single one of them as individuals. And he knows that each of them have amazing fiancés that can help them grow better for the kingdom and everything. Like it was just really wholesome that I
Mhm.
was like, oh, this is what we all need in the sibling love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
We all just need that one sibling that will be helping every single relationship in the family.
I do also appreciate because it's easy to forget because obviously the time jump that they had
Mm,
known each other since kids. Like these love feelings of love didn't just develop overnight for them. For Katarina, I should specify.
mhm.
And Jordo, the first time that he felt alive was with Katarina. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
her showing
100%.
him her garden, and the first time that Alan felt like he wasn't always second to his brother, that he had his own strengths, was when Katarina was like, you're not, you have things that are, which was explored in the first season, but this was a little bit more in depth. And
Mhm.
I just it was a good reminder because sometimes it kind of comes across like they just met in high school and they instantly fell in love with her, but it's like no, these have
Mhm.
been growing for years and years and years. And it was also funny that Jordo has always had this oh sorry, Keith has always had this protectiveness against Jordo even as kids. and and um and Jordo had that same possessiveness because even even in that like as kids he was always reminding him that's my fiance. And even Alan at the time was like, yeah, okay, you don't have to keep telling me because like Alan was the last one to even figure out that he loved her because everyone around him kept just saying, don't fall in love with her.
Mhm.
Banned, don't fall in love with her. But
Yeah, it's like straight up, don't do it. Don't go there.
do you kind of feel though this episode was kind of I had this feeling that this episode was a way to say she's definitely not going to end up with Alan. It kind of felt like whatever Alan does feel, Jordo has already claimed her as a child, and Alan has understood that since they were children. And Alan loves his brother so much more than he would ever like betray him. Like I had that feeling sort of thing where it kind of was like
Mm,
yes, I acknowledge she's changed me, but I didn't get this feeling of like but I will fight for my love. It kind of felt a bit like I'll let it's my brother. Like I wouldn't steal her from him. I don't know. I just got that
yeah.
feeling. I don't know if
I
you
don't
felt the same way. Because I know they
I don't
didn't say
know.
it
I feel like
explicitly.
yeah, no, really didn't, but I feel like it's kind of like I think it's going back to like how the first season kind of indicates how Alan and Mary's like good and bad ending kind of ends out to be. Where Alan will just accept if it happens, it happens. And if it doesn't, then it's fine as well. Like at least he's given it a shot and he knows that the feelings are still there. And I think he's still on like a seesaw with instead of him and Mary, it's now him and his brother and what values the most out of him.
Mm-hmm.
And because he's still rocking it on his own and trying to figure out what's the right thing to do, I think it's kind of like I think that's what I got a sense out of it. Like he understands that Katarina is Jodo's fiance, but he also understands that with his relationship with Mary, they both had a understanding that they both didn't really like love each other, but they wanted to be with each other until they got together or to see what happens with that other person that they like, which is Katarina, obviously. But because now he's already done one hurdle and he has to go through another hurdle, which is Jodo, he's back to that seesaw effect because he's still genuinely likes Katarina and he's accepted that factor. But because of his upbringing and Jordan saying that she's my fiance, he's back to that battle. So
Mm-hmm.
in some way, he's like, yes, I want still, but if she comes to me, I'm not
Out
going
to
to miss that
Alex.
opportunity. Yeah.
I guess we'll find out, right? Because At the end of this, Jordo finally like said it explicitly. I kissed you because I love you. I keep saying loved like it's past tense. I kissed you because I love you, and kisses her again. Like this is explicit now, and she finally gets it. Well, she seems like she finally gets it. She's
I
a
think
little
she's
shocked,
yeah,
but
she's
she
in shock.
gets it. And
Yeah.
so uh, I guess we'll see what that means for them necessarily,
Mm,
but I don't know, I just get this feeling of like this episode felt like Alan loves her but not enough to kind of steal her away. But I do love these baby backgrounds because even the next episode was like, you know, baby them, them as babies. I'm just gonna call them babies because they were like 5 years old apparently. These are some intelligent like 5, 8 year olds.
with great imagination. Let's just add on to that. Great imagination.
But it was like how she affected the girls this time. So Sophia and Mary.
Mm,
I really
mhm.
wish they had not named them Mary and Maria because I am so sorry. I'm going to be interchanging them throughout because I keep mixing up the names.
They are
But
very similar.
oh, the funniest in here was because, like I said, Keith was still very protective of Katarina, but I loved when they were walking. So they were looking for like ghosts or something, right?
They were looking for like the ghost, like the haunted ghost
Right,
of the
which turned out to
forest or
be like her
something.
mother
And
and
her.
her, which I actually thought that was really sad, but they were all laughing. But I thought, oh gosh, like if it was so bad that it became sort of an urban legend, that's kind of really sad.
I don't
But
know.
anyway,
I ended up laughing with it because it was just something, it was
oh,
something so bizarre because they didn't put one and two together. They had to find out towards the end because they're
yeah,
all like, okay, time for us to go, blah blah blah. And then they're like, wait, where's Katarina? It's like, oh,
that
she got
just
in
cracked.
trouble. And then after they heard it, and then they all were like in shock. And because I think the reason why I laughed in that scene more than actually feeling sorry for Katarina is because they they knew and expected this to happen, and because of her character it's bound to happen because of some odd like scenario or like some odd action that she's done within the whole entire episode, and it's just bound to happen. I think that's why I laughed. And like, I mean, it only makes sense.
That's fair. But yeah, my favorite scene was when they were going through the forest and everyone was scared. And she was like, Keith, do you want me to hold your hand? And he's like, yes, of course. And then Jordan comes up and goes, okay, you can hold my hand.
And then everyone else just goes, oh.
I'm scared too. I'll stay by you. And Keith's also
Yeah.
just like, no, I don't want to. I take it back. I'm
Keith,
not scared.
yeah, Keith just ended up like that wrecked his life 100%. But Mary got the sweep and like, you can hold my hand and we can be strong together.
Yeah, but it was just another episode of them as kids and how she helped Mary and Sophia get over their fears. But what I also loved is Sophia's imagination. That was so good. But I just like, what?
Oh, that
What
was
is
brilliant.
that?
Honestly, that was the most brilliant thing because I so resonate with that because of her creative side, and especially basing it on the narratives and the books that she's read as well, just makes it an A plus plus characteristic for Sophia. Definitely one thing from this episode that I enjoyed was that Katarina, Sophia, and also Mary, they were able to openly invite Maria into their younger lives, even though she wasn't initially a part of that. They still included her and made her feel the same things that they felt, even like after like the whole storm and the whole entire rain, and they went into the same cabinet that they were at like a really young age, and walking out to the same scene that they had before the boys found them, they were able to share that same moment with Maria. And it
Yeah.
almost felt like Maria wasn't missing out,
No.
even after all the stories, which I'm like, this is great. Like, Yeah, we all know that all of them really love or like have some form of like romantic interest for Katarina, but this particular scene just didn't feel like that. It just felt like a friendship was growing more, and they were adding in an extra person that had completely missed out the whole entire experience, but
Yeah.
was able to feel that experience.
Can I just say though what I do love about Maria? I know we've talked about liking Maria for Katarina before, but I thought
Mhm.
I don't know if this is a bit of foreshadowing, but I just do want to point it out. Now that she is kind of realizing that Jordo has no intention of breaking off this engagement, and she will probably accidentally become a princess because she's too nice of a person. And she, like, in the beginning of the episode, she was like contemplating it, all the things she should have to give up. She can't climb trees anymore. She'd have to give up her garden. She can't eat that much sweets because she's gonna, like, if she has to become a princess. But right on, like, as she was thinking those things, you know who turned up was Maria, the one commoner of their group who she wouldn't have to give up those things for if they ended up together because
Mm.
she's not a princess. And I just thought, maybe this is a bit of foreshadowing to say if she doesn't
Well,
want to
it's
give
too
up those
early,
things.
I think.
I'm just
I
saying, it
think
could
it's
be a
too
little sprinkle
early.
in there. It could be a little sprinkle in there.
I think it's a bit early to justify who Katarina would pick because remember she could take her own path and choose nothing,
Yes,
like you said,
of
like
course.
absolutely
That
no
was
one.
that is you know, she hasn't shown any inclination to anyone, but I just feel it a little bit with them too. And I just think if she doesn't have to give up anything for her. But but then they get caught sort of I wouldn't say caught like they were doing something bad, but so it was nice to see sort of the kids version of them in that
Mm.
the last few episodes to kind of get to know why they really loved her.
Yeah. And they also got like a deeper connection again, like just as a collective. They all came together towards the end. And especially with the next one, like which was really bizarre. I found it so bizarre. Like
The
I feel like
dollhouse episode you're talking about, right?
yeah, the dollhouse. Like, okay, I loved the concept of the dollhouse itself being its own magical world, and the only way it's kind of like an escape room.
Hmm.
You're trying to
Hmm.
escape your own reality that you've always wanted in your whole entire world, in your whole entire dreams, to find this one doll and to unplug that. But like in saying that, I'm like, this is the most bizarre thing ever. I just want to quickly ask before we do dive into like the logistics behind it. What was who
I was
was
about
the
to ask you the
most
same.
yeah.
What was your favorite,
I'm
or the
gonna
one that?
say, which is really bizarre. I love Maria's one.
Oh my
It
gosh.
was just
I didn't even write what Maria's was. I just wrote OMG Maria. And I know exactly what that meant because I was like, what?
Maria's one was just so whacked up out of all of them
Because
because
everyone
that's
else had something to do with Katarina.
with Katarina, but Maria's one was straight baking and like wanting to be muscly so she can like
Like,
really pound down this bread. Like
I was like,
it was
what?
just bizarre.
Okay, the other one that that was going to be my answer because that one was the one I did expect a lot of them because they had a lot to do with Katarina. So that's why Maria's one was just like way out of left field. Especially because as they were like showing the previews and then they were just like, is that Katarina? Other weird one to me was Alan. What the hell was that bird? Just had like a tuft of gray hair. At first I was like, who is that? And then I saw the gray hair. I was like, oh, Alan. You know, he's been had the worst luck with these like fantasy episodes. So they also had a similar thing with last season, and then Alan didn't know he loved Katarina at the time. So his like fantasy didn't even get to play out. His one he was when he came out of it, he said he just was playing piano the whole time. This time he was just a bird and he wanted to kiss Katarina, but instead he was like pecking her. So he was hurting her. At least Nicole was like a cat that like for some reason really charmed her. They were like, oh, Nicole's still Nicole. But it was like, what? um, why did he become a bird to pet her? Of all
I
things,
don't know.
Jordo's one was like a pirate. Like this was like real like things, human viable
Human
things.
needs.
And then Mary decides to just become muscly, and Ellen just becomes a bird. It was like, I mean, a
A
bird isn't bad, but if the reason you
bird
become a
isn't
bird is
bad.
because you want to kiss somebody, you don't become a bird.
Like it just hurts. Like getting pecked by a bird.
Be a dog and you can lick her face or something. I don't know, but a
Yeah.
bird
Like
is
a
not
cat was already good
it.
enough. Like
Right?
Nicole had it. Nicole had it in the bag, which was a cat, because a cat, like you could sit down on it, you can make it all charming and everything. Like I know a cat that makes me charm and makes me want to go back and see him again. But unfortunately I cannot. But it was just it was so bizarre. Like besides Maria's one, I think what made it really interesting to see was Keith's one, how because of his influence with his sister, the switch of gender was there. And it's like, who would have thought that you wanted to understand how like the female figure was, and to see your sister as like a handsome dude with all these other like people, and to see the other cast be that female figure. Like who would have thought that Keith would have had that in his holistic mind because of him being around with his sister.
Mary was like a higher rank than um, Jordo. So that was her
Yeah.
dream, was to become basically to steal Katarina off him. And she was also a dude. Uh, but my favorite, or the fantasy that I would actually want to live, is Katarina's, because she was just like back to her teenage self. I love how they thought, oh, her fantasy is just so she never has to change into like her dresses and stuff,
And
because
then
she's
just
just
sleep
being
in.
lazy, eating food and do nothing. Like that's me. That's the life I want to have.
Actually, I didn't really answer your question as to like which one I would want to live in. I think if anything, it would have to be Raphael's. Having
Ah,
this
I was.
the simple like working life and being able to like get out of work on time, and
Everything's
getting
organized, properly
everything's
managed.
organized, managed, everything was like in place and whatnot. Like as much as I love Katarina's kind of holistic world, I know that I would get a headache from just living that because I can't nap, unfortunately, as it is. I would get
Clear,
massive like migraines by it.
Clearly, we are in two very different stages of our lives right now. If you can't tell which of us is the lazy one. Um, but yeah, I love that that was reference. I didn't understand. No, it's not that I didn't understand it at first. I just thought he was like in a version of the thing, and then when he was like all spaced out, it's like this is the life I want. I was like, oh, I get that. Like, I get it. I love how they when they fixed it, it was or got the doll and the only reason that it happened was because Katarina just touches everything, like without thinking of
Yeah.
what's gonna happen. Same with the book. Same for touching the dollhouse. Even though they went in there to say,
Yeah.
they're in the
It was like
Department of Magic, don't touch things. But she's just like,
yeah, it's like
open the door.
I remember like Lara's telling her a lot. Yeah, Lara telling her, "Oh, just wait here. I'll be back and stuff." But then she already opens it, and it's like, "Huh? Did I not just tell you to wait?"
It just right. It's she, but I mean, it
Curiosity
helped.
kills the mind.
It helped though in the end because that's how they got out. Because she was just like, huh, what's this gold thing? Let me touch it, and they
Oh,
got them
that
out.
doll though. I'm gonna say this now. That doll was creepy.
Creepy. I mean, I don't love dolls, so. But the final episode was centered on the silent, the one I kind of always forget about. If I'm being honest. It was
Oh, how can you not
Nicole.
forget him? Nicole is so sweet,
He is.
and I kind of feel bad for him for like all the episodes because of his persona and how the show really characterizes him as
Let's
the
be
quiet
honest.
person.
I would be him in this show, 100%. I mean, I don't
I
feel bad
wouldn't
for
know
him.
who
You
I
don't
would
feel
be.
bad to me. You don't feel bad for me. It's just the personality to be. Oh, I wouldn't be him because he's like charming, but I mean in terms of
Pers-
like personality of just being like in the background. Because I know all
Mhm.
the girls swoon for him, and all the girls do not swoon for me. So that is not that part.
Don't worry, there'll be a whole
Not
bunch of
comparing that.
dudes just waiting for you, Shy, after lockdown.
um, but he is kind of asking for an arranged marriage because he's given up on the idea that he will find love with anyone else because he's given his heart to Katarina. I don't
Mm,
know. I get it because it's your best friend who is engaged to her, not some just random dude in your class. This is your best friend. That's her fiance. Like I would never do that to you.
yeah,
I'm not gonna
it's
go steal your boyfriend right now. I mean, obviously I'm not in love with your boyfriend, but you know what I mean? Like I would never. And so I can understand his point of view. But
yeah.
also his sister is his number one pusher.
Oh, his
Sophia was
sister
like,
will like
what
support
was the
him with
books?
absolutely anything.
Sophia was giving him books on like stolen love or something and like saying, just go steal her, like do it, sort of thing. It was like,
Yeah, like
Sophia,
all of
what
the
are
book
you doing?
titles. Yeah, like all the book titles that she's like given, it's like hint, hint, steal the girl. It's totally fine. And his like honestly, the one thing that blew my mind was that their parents were in the same situation as Nicole,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm like, oh my God, that is brutal. Brutal. And that's when he decided that he was going to follow the same pathway as his parents. Like, oh my God, that was absolutely brutal. Why would you do that?
Exactly. I thought it was funny. In the first episode that we talked about, it felt like it was suggesting that, Alan is not going to get the girl. And this one kind of I thought was going the same direction, but then it didn't because in the end he was swayed by Sophia and one of the girls that he was set up with. Can I just say that was weirdly romantic, their chat, even though the content of their
Yeah,
chat was basically her saying, "No, I'm not going to get engaged to you because it's not fair for me to get engaged to someone who's in love with someone else." And basically her telling him, "What you're doing is
go.
shitty because like
Yeah.
you're forcing someone who loves you to love you when you have given your heart to somebody else." But like the scene was like in these fields of flowers, in the
It almost
sunset,
felt
the
like,
music was like
yeah,
romantic. I was like, these two are falling in love right now, but I can hear what
yeah.
they're saying and it's not falling in love.
It's not, I think it's more of like they were trying to convey that, hey, realize that something else that you should be going towards. But I'm like, this is not working. This is definitely not working. You're making it seem like he's gonna end up with this girl, which I'm like, I wouldn't be mad because she is lovely. Like we've seen like little snippets also in that episode where Katarina actually interacts with her, and also like one of the librarians that are with this character, um she absolutely despises her because of like how much like actions, and like she thinks that she's very fake, like Katarina is very fake and everything. But sooner or later, like she falls in love and like gets to appreciate her personality.
I
But
love that.
back,
It's like,
yeah,
even though not in the main characters, everyone still falls in love with Katarina.
yeah, everyone still falls in love with her. I think it's just because of who she is. That's
The
how it
power of
works
being
out.
kind, right? Like she has
Yeah,
no malice for anybody, even though this girl has been prickly towards her. She's like, no, I'm sure she's sweet inside. And I don't know. It's just it's a good lesson in like people will like you if you're kind. But I gotta be honest, I
yeah.
do not have the patience of Katarina. I cannot be
Oh,
kind
I
100% of the time. Give me like maybe 70 to 80% of the time. I'll be very nice and kind to you, but 20% of the time, if you're a shitty person, I'm like no patience for you.
we know who not to piss off.
Well, what I really loved about these last few episodes was us getting to know more about why they liked or why they love Katarina because it wasn't just love at first sight. it's truly her character that they fell in
Mm-hmm.
love with, sort of thing. But what are you, I don't know how many more episodes left in the season, but what are you excited for the next part?
I'm going to say this now. I have a feeling it's 12 episodes this season, and they're going to make a new episode. I mean, not new episode, like a new season, sorry. And I really do hope they do follow on with that third season. And hopefully, the third season will be the final season to see what happens in Katarina as well. Like, would she go back to her normal life, or would she actually fall in love with one of these candidates?
I mean, she's
But
dead in her normal life, so I don't think that's
yeah,
gonna happen.
who
I
knows? Maybe
mean,
she's
yeah,
got like
you're
a
right.
third
Maybe
life somewhere
who
there.
knows? Oh,
She
that
has
would
that
be kind
third
of
chance.
exciting.
Right.
Like
That's
if
what
she
I'm
does end up
thinking.
like heading in her doom flag, and then it kind of just resets. That would be a fun way to do it. And she's like, "Well, that didn't work. Now what do I do?" But I
And she's
don't.
gonna repeat the whole entire thing again. Ooh,
Maybe it's like maybe I
so
have to.
spicy. But I think what I'm really looking forward to for the next couple of episodes is to really see more character development. But in saying that, please do stay safe, turtles, wherever you are in the world. And don't forget to spread your joy near and far. And we'll see you in the next episode. Until next time, y'all. Bye.